Chapter 14. Martin cleared his throat, tapping the laptop screen to bring up the first slide as the small team of executives settled into the conference room. Garrett sat beside him wearing his one button-down shirt, hands clasped tightly, a mixture of excitement and nerves flashing across his face. "Let's get started," Martin said, scanning the room. "As you know, Garrett and I have been testing a new approach to protect crops from the persistent kangaroos impacting fields. He's successfully integrated drone technology to deter the kangaroos, and I think you'll like what he's come up with." He clicked on a video clip, and the room went dark as the screen filled with aerial footage. A field spread out below, the rows of crops and a trio of kangaroos off to one side. A small drone buzzed into the scene, moving in calculated arcs, keeping pace with one of the kangaroos before letting out a loud, blaring noise. The animal hesitated, ears twitching before it bounded away, disappearing toward the field's edge. One of the executives, arms crossed, leaned forward with interest. "That's impressive," he murmured as the clip played on, showing more footage of the drone's maneuvers, scaring off kangaroos one by one. Martin nodded, suppressing a smile. "So far it's working as expected. He's programmed a chase mode for repeat offenders, so the drone won't give up until they've cleared the field perimeter." The video faded, and Martin clicked to a slide that highlighted the project's positives. Garrett chimed in. "This system could significantly reduce the damage kangaroos are causing to crops. Our test runs have shown that the drones can cover a lot of ground in a short time. We're getting close to 95% field coverage." "And with minimal human intervention," Martin added, "the drones run autonomously, only requiring occasional adjustments. It frees up manpower and lets us apply targeted deterrence without fences or additional barriers." "This is promising," Martin's manager said. Martin flipped to the next slide. "We're thrilled about the results." Garrett chimed in, "But there are some risks." The executives looked at each other, their expressions shifting slightly. Garrett took over, his voice steady as he pointed to the screen. "First, there's the possibility of disrupting local wildlife. Kangaroos might be chased off, but other animals could be unintentionally affected as well. If we expand the use of the drones, we could alter some local ecosystems." An executive shifted in his seat. "Could you minimize that impact with targeting?" "Yes," Garrett replied, "but there are limits. Drones detect movement, and they can't always identify specific animals. And then there's the matter of, well, physical interference." Martin jumped in. "There's a risk of injury if a drone collides with an animal, and if a kangaroo were to accidentally knock a drone out of the air, we'd be dealing with repair costs and potentially the loss of a valuable asset. Plus, if a drone crashes due to battery failure or an unexpected error, it becomes litter." "We tried to adjust flight altitude, but that reduced deterrence," Garrett added. "And it shortens battery life, which brings me to another issue: limited operational hours." A manager scribbled a note, glancing up with an arched eyebrow. "What are you seeing on battery life?" Garrett looked at Martin, who answered, "Around 2 hours, 40 minutes per charge. We're working on it, but right now it's limiting. It means we need a recharge system in the field if we want continuous coverage." The executives exchanged glances, nodding thoughtfully. Garrett cleared his throat. "And there's also the potential for privacy issues. Drones capturing footage over farmland might inadvertently record people. We may record farm workers, landowners, and anyone who happens to be in the fields. We'd need strict data protocols to prevent misuse of that footage." "Is there a way to block those recordings?" another executive asked. "Possibly," Martin said. Garrett flipped to the final point on the slide. "The drones are connected to the main network. If someone hacks into them, they could turn the drones against us, use them to damage crops, or even collect sensitive data. We need security help if we're going to roll this out on a larger scale." The room grew quiet as the team considered the implications. Finally, one of the senior managers spoke up. "I appreciate the thoroughness, both of you," he said, folding his hands on the table. "This is important work. And while the risks are clear, the potential is even clearer. Here's what I'm proposing. We'll authorize short-term funding and deployment of 5 existing drones, but I want a tabletop security exercise conducted. Simulate scenarios where the system could be compromised, and I want a team to evaluate responses and vulnerabilities. And we want a live demo in 2 weeks. Martin and Garrett nodded, the weight of responsibility settling between them. I'll make the arrangements, Martin said. The executives rose from their seats, nodding their approval as they filed out. Martin turned to Garrett, a rare smile breaking across his face. Looks like we're funded, kid. Garrett grinned back, excited but not entirely sure of what he just got himself into. 2 weeks until a live demo? At least the project would look good on his resume.